I would be 8 people, and then the difficulties vanish. Only as one I contain the complications. In a warm house roofed with the rib cage of an elephant, I pass my gray mornings rerunning the reels, and the images are the same, but the emphasis shifts. The actors bow gently to me, and I envy them, their repeated parts, their constant presence in that world. Mr. Tom Raworth was born on July 19, 1938, in Bexleyheath, England, and was known for writing over 40 books of poetry and prose throughout his lifetime. Sadly, he died on February 8th of 2017. His poem, "You've Ruined My Evening, You've Ruined My Life," covers his own experience as he sits in his room reliving his dreams, rewatching them as if he's watching some sort of movie. Throughout this whole experience, he sees many images, such as 8 people picking and passing fruit between glass corridors. In the final stanza of the poem, the images from the previous 2 stanzas flash by rapidly, all of the images from both Raworth's real life and his dreams. And at the very end, he realizes that only while being one person is he allowed to retain his dreams and yet still interact with the outside world. It's at this point that the title of the poem finally begins to make sense, as Raworth's recollection of his dreams and wishing to be one of the 8 people within them may have ruined his evening. The fact that he dreamed them up ruined their own lives, because they're trapped in that endless limbo, repeating the same actions over and over again for eternity. So, now that that's over with, what's the deeper meaning of the poem? You see, this poem is actually about Raworth's everyday life and how he feels unsatisfied by it. He feels that everything in the real world is too complicated, and he wishes to be one of the 8 people that he sees in his dreams every night, because he thinks that that would make all of his difficulties in the real world just up and vanish. In the first stanza, he mentions his house being roofed with an elephant's ribcage. It sounds expansive, but in actuality, it's extremely cramped. This is meant to symbolize Raworth's desire to break free of his daily life. While he can see past the usual walls, he can't manage to break free of any of his bonds and go past his day-to-day life. The same idea applies to the glass corridors that Raworth sees inside of his dreams. While each of the 8 people in there are free to walk around and pass things back and forth, there's no escape in sight. This contrasts the aforementioned ribcage, as Raworth could still try to squeeze through it. For those in the dream, there is literally no way that they can get out. Raworth states that he envies the 8 people seen in his dreams, and that those 8 people envy him in his mornings, despite them being grey. In the end, we can see why this is, as Raworth shrugs off his ideal of escapism in order to focus on his daily life, where he can make any choice that he wants to. The 8 people, however, are not so lucky, and have no such choices, and are therefore stuck within Raworth's dream, forever envying his life and his ability to make any choice that he wants to. This idealistic escapism, embodied by both parties, is the overall theme of this poem. The final message that Raworth leaves us with at the very end of the poem is this: we can dream all we want. They don't matter. But it's the things we do in our real lives that define us. This poem actually breaks Raworth's usual style of writing. He almost always gave his poems a very rapid feel, giving the reader barely any time to process one image before moving on to the next. It's very fitting that the poem where his style changes to be more relaxed is about slowing down and taking time to focus on the real world. Raworth truly was an amazing poet.